Hey friends, hey family. I have been wanting to do this for a little while. I've been wanting to go back through the photos of our house build and just put something together to kind of briefly show what the past 5 years have been like for us as we've been building our home. So I thought I would just start from the beginning. About 5 years ago, we purchased an acreage in northern Alberta, and it was completely treed, and we couldn't afford to hire a contractor or to really hire any of the work out. So basically we just started by making a trail onto the property. About that time we were also expecting Gavin, who is baby number 4. So it was a little bit hectic. He was born, we were trying to clear some of the land. We still lived in town in a townhouse that we were rapidly outgrowing. So we had this trek out to the acreage, and then of course Jeff and his dad had their own jobs too. But between all of that, they would be out here cutting down trees and digging up stumps. And that first year, the land pretty much just sat kind of like half cleared where we wanted it to be. And that was a little bit discouraging. There were just a lot of kind of hoops that we needed to jump through with the bank and Jeff's job and finances. So waiting was really difficult when it felt like we had already waited for so long. But then the following year, they finished clearing the area where we wanted the house to sit, and they started the foundation. And that was really cool and kind of emotional, but so exciting. And that year held its own challenges too. We had a season of rain just like every day. So for a little while, Jeff and his dad were just out there trying to save our foundation, keep it from floating away, pumping out water, digging dirt. And I know, and not just dirt, but just like heavy mud. I know it was so discouraging for them, but they handled it with so much grace and grit and perseverance, and also just plain old kindness. Like, they would involve the kids, they would build little toys for the kids, they would build forts with the leftover material, and they were just such a godly example to the kids on how to respond to tough situations. And I so appreciate that our kids got to see that. Later on in that year, in the winter, towards winter, in Alberta, when we have a little bit of snow like that, it's pretty much our fall. They were able to start framing the walls and raising those, and that was so encouraging to see that. At one point, they lifted these rafters into place by hand, just the two of them, and it was pretty scary to watch. I'm sure it was pretty scary for them actually doing it. So they did hire a crane, and the crane would set it into place, and then they would secure everything. Overall, it's just seemed like, just these two guys out here building. Often it seemed so slow and grueling. I'm sure to them, agonizing at times, just the two of them, mostly Kevin out here by himself working. But I would come out and I just could not believe how much they would accomplish in just a few short days. And they did everything, like including the windows and the wiring. They did all of that. I was always so impressed when I would come out and see the work that they had gotten done. I have a photo somewhere in here coming up, and it's of Kevin, and I thought I had it sooner than this, but I guess not. So there are a few other cool, okay, so it's inside the house here, and it's this photo right here, and I just love that photo. It just reminds me of just God's grace and God's ability to work through someone to show us how we should respond to tough situations. Kevin and Jeff handled all of this so well, and Jeff's dad was such an encouragement to us. He was so determined, but he was also so patient, and he trusted God so much and believed that if we were just obedient to God's will, that God would do his will in our lives, and he really did. It was not easy work. It was not easy waiting. It was not easy saving. It was not easy not having a vehicle for such a long time. About 2 years, I think, our family didn't even have a vehicle that we could all drive in. So the kids and I were pretty much stuck in this little tiny townhouse next to the highway with no yard, and we couldn't go anywhere, and it was so discouraging. But it was also so wonderful, just seeing God's hand in how he provided for us in so many big ways and little ways. And of course, the times that we could get out to the land, it was such a treat to be involved in the building process and to be out of doors and in the woods, and getting the walls painted and the home, the shell of the house basically just turned into a home. It was such a blessing. Just before we moved in, we were actually expecting baby number 6, and that's Evelyn. And a couple of months actually after we moved in, we were able to have a home birth. And I was so excited about that because I had always wanted to have one. It just never had worked out. And this time we were able to have someone out here to help us, and we were able to safely do this, whereas before that just wasn't available to us. So it was a huge blessing from God and such a sweet gift for him to allow us to be able to do that. We are still building. We still have a lot of work indoors and outdoors. Right now we're mostly working on the outbuildings and experimenting with what's going to work for us. So far we've tried chickens and turkeys, and we've really enjoyed that. We tried milk goats as well. I enjoyed it, Jeff not as much, just because goats are so tricky to keep in a fence. We plan to add a cow soon. We have a really big desire to create a self-sufficient life as much as God will allow us to do, and to produce our own food. So we're just trying things, seeing what works for us, seeing what doesn't work for us. And we've got gardens in. That is also tricky because we have to find, what grows up here in Zone 3, Northern Alberta, and what kind of things we need to build in order to grow our own produce. We have also had another baby. We've had baby number 6, Gideon, and we were able to have another home birth, and that was a really big blessing too. So that's kind of what we've been up to over the past 5 years. We're in our home and we're just enjoying life, and we are figuring out what works for us and what doesn't. We still have quite a bit more building to do. We still have quite a few animals to add, gardens, outbuildings, things like that. And we certainly want to start also figuring out how to get out into the bush and hunt and fish. Right now that can be a little difficult with such little kids still. But that is where we are, and I just wanted to share a little bit of it through photos and kind of look back over our house build. I know I've had some friends and family actually ask for photos. So I really appreciate you guys joining us. I really appreciate you watching this, and I just look forward to making more videos as we have time. And we would love people's feedback, and we would love for people to join us on this adventure if you have time. Thanks, guys.